Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's enjoying the cooler weather for once. We're going to go ahead and get started and call the Budget and Finance meeting to order. First, we are going to do the amendment to the current fiscal year budget 2021, sorry, having a moment there. And then we'll do approval of the revised budget for 2021-22 fiscal year. And so we'll just go ahead and get started. So Mr. Henson, if you can come up and present us the operating budget for the current operating year 2020-21.
Thank you, Ms. Player-Peters, and good afternoon, everybody. So the first thing, as Ms. Player-Peters said, is we're going to be discussing and hopefully approving the budget amendment number 2. If you remember from budget amendment number 1, which was back in December, I had made the comment that this was sort of the first phase of truing up or reconciling our charter transfer required by state law as far as how much needs to be transferred as far as our best estimate goes to the charter fund, which is a separate fund from our general purpose operating fund. And so what we've got here, if you'll turn the page to the front page, the summary sheet, there's a lot of wording here and trying to explain best we can as far as what we're doing. It's a transfer of approximately $12.8 million to our charter fund, and this is strictly based upon the calculation that's required by state law, which is total state and local revenue per pupil. And if you remember again back from December, our enrollment is about 4 to 5% below what was originally projected as far as overall district enrollment. Yet the charter enrollment basically held steady and in fact increased just a little bit. And then also what we've experienced on a positive note is our local option sales tax collections have significantly exceeded Metro Finance's estimates so far. And you'll notice that in the amended agenda that came out to your board meeting, later on today, which shows that we are in excess of $40 million over projections as far as local option sales tax revenue goes as the economy rebounds. And so we're very, very pleased about that. But with that combination of our overall enrollment being below projections and then our overall state and local revenue being above, that elevates the per pupil amount that we are required by state law to transfer to our charter schools. And so you'll see that sort of explained there in the paragraph, mainly due to enrollment and the local option sales tax increase that we've seen. We will not know what this final number will be until the end of August, because the way that Metro Finance accounts for sales tax revenue is that the sales tax collections are actually collected at the retail site 2 months before we actually see it. And so that August 20th sales tax collections report that you'll see in a future board agenda will reflect June collections at the retail site. And so that will, until then, we will not know what our final number is. So the way that Metro Finance calculates the sales tax revenue, it's really from September to August to cover the July to June collections at the retail sales tax site. And that's explained at the very end of that paragraph. We've also identified a few areas within the budget where we believe we're going to see some savings based upon the partial virtual school year that we had, particularly in the area of substitutes as well as transportation. We know we've got some savings in fuel. We know we've got some savings in substitutes as well as the school funding allocation. We're estimating that the schools will not spend everything that they had originally allocated to them just based upon the fact that half of the students overall were virtual, half were in person. And so on the next page, it just shows what our final calculation as of this date would be as far as the charter transfer. You can see that the estimated per pupil rate has jumped based upon the lower overall district enrollment and the higher overall local revenue to $12,213. We've got the most current estimate of student projections for our charter schools. And what that increase would be at $12,866,900, which ties to the summary page, the previous page. So this breaks it down by our 27 different charter schools. And again, this is just to reconcile so that we get the proper amount, or at least close to the proper amount, transferred from our general purpose operating fund over to our charter school fund as required by state law. So I'll stop there and see if there are any questions as it relates to the amendment number 2.
Any questions? Mr. Henson? All right.
I do have a question.
Okay, Dr. Gentry.
This is probably because I wasn't really paying good enough attention. So when you made the statement, we don't know what the final amount is going to be, what amount were you referring to?
The local option sales tax revenue, the collections as Metro Finance categorizes them, we won't know what the June number will be until August 20th because they're always 2 months in arrears of collections at the retail site. Because the retailer has a certain amount of time to submit to the Tennessee Department of Revenue. Tennessee Department of Revenue has a certain amount of time to submit to the county trustee, then the county trustee distributes.
And will that impact the per pupil amount that we have documented here that's going to charters?
It can. This is our best estimate at the time, and this would be based upon what we have so far as of June 20th, plus our best estimate of what will come in July as
Gotcha,
well as
okay.
August. And then we'll do a final true-up at that point in time. But this is just before the end of the fiscal year to try to get as best we can the appropriate amount transferred to that charter fund since it is a separate fund.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed amendment for the operating budget for 2020 and 2021.
I move we approve the amended budget.
There a second?
Second.
Second, it's been moved and properly second. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor, raise your hand. That's everyone? Okay, it passes unanimously. We will move on now to the revised 2021-2022 operating budget amendment. I'll hand over to Mr. Henson for an explanation, please.
Great, thank you, Ms. Player Peters. And you all have a copy of the revised budget. It's revised based upon the action that the Metro Council took last Tuesday, a week ago. If you'll turn to the first page, the summary page, I will just go through any changes from what you have already approved back on May 25th. The first change would be under the employee compensation. If you look down, I guess it's third from the bottom, it says support additional PD days, 7. So these would be the 7 additional professional development days for our 10-month school-based support staff at an estimated cost of $1.4 million. This was something that you know was included in our aspirational budget. The amount that we had in there was for 1 day, and the Metro Council did increase 7 days for those 10-month school-based support employees. Then if you look down at the bottom, there are 2 changes. The first would be on that first line, social and emotional learning will be for our advocacy centers. The council approved adding an additional 17 to the number that we had originally proposed with the $2.5 million that the mayor had recommended in his proposed budget. Plus, there are an additional 14, I believe, that are funded through federal ESSER funds so that all elementary schools will have an advocacy center within them. So that's an increase for the social emotional learning for advocacy centers. And then the next line down would be an increase of 7 school psychologists. Again, this was part of the Metro Council substitute budget. We're very appreciative of that substitute budget with the cost there. And those are the only 3 changes, all good changes, the only 3 changes to the operating budget that the board approved back on May 25th. Takes our total operating budget to $1,017,000,000.8. With an increase of a little over $84.1 million, a 9% increase. I'll point out just 2 more things. The next page, since it did change, I'll point out the proposed position changes. This just reflects the additional advocacy coaches as well as the additional school psychologists that were approved. Total increased FTEs or positions, 71.5, which matches what's on the previous page on the summary sheet. And then the next page, document number 3. Document number 3 is our 10-month support employee work calendars. And so you can see the 2 sections that were changed down second from the bottom and third from the bottom. They changed, these would be the 10-month school-based support employees that went from 194 paid days on the left side to 201 paid days on the right side, which matches the number of paid days for our teachers. And that's really all of the changes, except for, of course, all of these are reflected in the 26-page line item budget document number 9.
Are there any questions for Mr. Henson? All right, seeing none. As Chair, I entertain a motion to approve the revised 2021-22 operating budget. Dr. Gentry made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Buggs seconded, so it's been moved and properly second. Is there any comments or discussion made about the amendment? Seeing none, we will vote. All in favor, raise your hand. That's unanimous. It passed unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Henson.
Thank you.
Just for closing comments, I just want to again just thank Dr. Battle at really transforming, starting last year, of how we approached the budget. We have really seen the community have a discussion through the democratic process of advocating for things they saw as a priority, and advocating through the process, particularly with us, but then also taking it to a step further, engaging Metro Council members. I know Council members, Alicia Porterfield was a big advocate of the additional professional days for support staff. Councilwoman Sawar was a big proponent of the paid psychologists and the advocacy center, and seeing their advocacy on the Metro government side to see how once you become transparent of what things cost and the true cost of educating children, the community steps up and advocates for what they see as important. And I think that's something that was new and transformative that wasn't done before your tenure here as director of schools, but really to have the ongoing conversation, what is the true cost of education? It's $1 billion is a big number. I don't want to downsize that number. It's historic, and we thank the mayor for starting that conversation, that process, first by transforming the teachers' pay scale and starting that, that study last year. Of course, the pandemic happened, so we had to delay it, and then keeping to his word to funding that, and then the council taking the next step, led by Councilwoman Toombs with her substitute budget, putting in the extra line items from the aspirational budget, and then having that conversation and continuing it. And I think it's one of the things of, once you have a transparent conversations, the community can really engage in a way that's appropriate, and understanding that we only can do so much until we know the allocation. We can't do as much until we know the allocation. Once we have the allocation, that will really to meet the community halfway. So I just want to thank Dr. Battle, her staff, Mr. North, who shepherded the council process, which is not always easy to monitor. If you ever monitor that, it could be very interesting monitoring the wills of 40 different council members and seeing where they're going to go through the process that can sometimes be messy in a good way, of just chaotic, of 40 people really having a thoughtful, robust discussion and coming to a consensus. And as anyone who watched the budget last year, that I think it's probably one of the first time where you pass the budget unanimously, or one of the few times that has happened. So that's also to give much kudos to the Metro Council, really going through that process and really figuring out that they can come together as a whole to do that. And so we want to be very thankful that Metro Schools was a part of that priority list, and that they really held firm to their commitment as council members and making sure that we are really educating our children in the best way possible. And so I know just working through the funds, I know Ms. Randolph and Mr. Clay really worked hard of just going through that process of understanding the wonderful malaise of ESSER funds, and going through the federal government, and going especially through change administrations, what's going to happen, how you can use the funds, working through the state, working through that process. Also, that's not an easy process too, and really want to uplift that, because it's a continuing process, and going through this time of a pandemic and understanding how we can truly leverage funds in an effective way, that we don't have financial cliffs, is a very thoughtful and intense process that I know it's not easy being on the governing side, but we do appreciate your hard work. And this is what it comes together at the end of the day, that it's really a thoughtful process. And I also want to say, as a note too, that when we do government finance, that July 1, we are not going to have $1 billion in our cash account. I think a lot of people think that, like, when you're done, think of it like your salary, that it's a continual process that you get paid in installments. And so to understand that, the way it works is that as tax receipts come in, there's transfers from the, to the state, down to the metro government, then down to us. And so to really think about how that will progress throughout the fiscal year. And we saw that a little bit of the pandemic when tax receipts went down. There was a discussion with the metro general government and with us about potential reductions that would have to be made. And luckily, we're coming out of it in a much better place. But we were really thinking about having some tough conversations because tax receipts went down, and we have to pass, per charter, a balanced budget. And when that revenue stream is disrupted, there are consequences to it. And so I just wanted people to understand the technicality of whenever there's a disruption in the revenue stream, it does affect schools at the end of the year. And to understand that we are not fully funded come July 1st. It's a beginning of a planning. A budget's a planning document that we hold fidelity to. We only hold fidelity to as we get tax receipts in, as we get cash dollars in, and as that paid throughout the year in installments. Then, as you see now, as we just passed the operating budget amendment, we had to make adjustments. So throughout the year, we'll do that. So just coming through the summer, if there are any disruptions into decisions that are made, understanding the impact, the technical impact that it could possibly have in schools. So I just really want to say that. So just thank you to my board members who talk to their council members, who talk to the community members to really educate them about the process. I really appreciate your effort. And I know Dr. Battles is like a big sigh of relief, and so am I, that we do not have to make a budget reduction for the first time in several years, that I could sleep at night. And yes, don't worry about me not sleeping at night because I stay up too late and watch a scary movie. And so that we really can have a thorough discussion of what our educating our children looks like, what it costs, and be able to do new things and implement new programs for the first time without making any reductions is really a relief and a blessing to have. So, Dr. Battle, if you want to make any comments, I'll open the floor to you if you want. If not, we can go on.
I don't have any. Thank you, Chair, for your leadership and advocacy, and to the entire board for prioritizing what we need in MNPS and speaking with one voice. So greatly appreciate everybody's leadership in this space.
Well, thank you. Oh, and also I forgot to mention Robert Fisher. He's been a great partner throughout the whole process, and he's not in the room, but hopefully he's taking a good vacation after this. But just want to thank Mr. Fisher as being a really good partner with us throughout the whole term, just having the continued conversations with us between the mayor's office and holding them accountable. So thank you to everyone, and thank you to everyone who advocated, from the citizens to the employees, to the administration, and to the fellow board members. I thank you, and I'll adjourn the Budget and Finance meeting.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.